Hey, welcome back to Commander Paradise. Today we're doing a deck tech for a brand new commander from Modern Horizons 3 called Arna, Kennerud, Skycaptain, a cool Esper commander that cares about modified creatures. If you like what we do here, you should definitely subscribe and like this video and comment what you think about this deck tech. All that stuff helps the algorithm. You know the deal. You've been on YouTube before. We appreciate it if you do that stuff. So today we're doing Arna, Kennerud, Skycaptain from Modern Horizons 3. I think she's super sweet, super cool. Look, I just love the giant eagle. It's so big. Flying, lifelink, war, discard a card, so pretty good stats, and it's a 4/4. And then whenever a modified creature you control attacks, not just her, any modified creature attacks, double the number of each kind of counter on it. And then for each non-token permanent attached to it, create a token that's a copy of that permanent attached to that creature. So a modified creature is anything with a counter, an aura, and a equipment on it. So this just kind of doubles all those things, and you're going to get a ton of value, and you're going to kill your opponents with them. So I got this separated into a couple different categories. These three only kind of fit in their own little realm of just auras. A lot of the other ones are more synergistic. So we got all that glitters. It gets +1/+1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. Glasswing Grace is 3 Orzhov. For enchanted creature, gets +2/+2 and has flying and lifelink. That's above rate, but on the back is a Orzhov land, so pretty good. It's an MDFC from MH3. I just want to play all of these all the time. They're really busted, and we're in an aura deck, so of course we're going to run this. Unquestioned Authority, this could also be in our card draw category, but enchant creature, when it enters battlefield, draw a card. So whenever we make a token copy of this, we're going to draw a card. So this is like a repeatable draw engine, and it's an aura that says when an enchanted creature has protection from creatures. So enchanted creature is unblockable. And whenever it attacks, we're going to draw a card. So insane. Same with Angelic Gift, has flying, when it enters battlefield, draw a card. Esper Sentinel, you know what it does, buff it up. It's going to be hard to pay for its pay the 1, now it's going to be pay 3, pay 4, and you're going to draw cards with it. It costs 1 mana, it's insane, one of the strongest cards in the whole format. Glimmerlands, 1 and a white for an equipment. 4 Mirrodin, so this is like the new version of Living Weapon, so it comes in with a 2/2 and you attach it to it. And whenever equipped creature and at least one other creature attack, draw a card. And this is really cheap. It's 2 mana, and then it's 2 mana to equip. So you're just drawing a bunch of cards with it. And then how this works with the commander is when the modified rebel token attacks, you're going to make a copy of Glimmerlands and immediately attach it to the rebel token or the germ token if you're doing a living weapon, and then the 4 Mirrodin's going to trigger. Then you're going to make a token, and then you're going to remove Glimmerlands and put it back or put it onto the new token that you just made. Just so you know how that works. Mask of Memory, whenever a equipped creature deals damage to a player, you may draw 2 cards. If you do, discard a card. It only equips for 1. Just really good card in a lot of decks, and really good in equipment decks. Super good. Nerd Rage, which is just kind of hilarious. 3 mana blue aura. When it enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards. So we're going to draw 2 cards every time we attack with this creature. And then it's got some other stuff that is kind of flavor text. It makes something really, really big if you have a lot of cards in hand, whatever. But it's just drawing 2 cards every turn. Open the armory. Search the library for an aura or equipment card, reveal it, put in your hand and shuffle your library. For 2 mana, pretty good, flexible, gets whatever we need. It gets card draw, it can get removal, it can get a big creature. We can card draw complete with this. So it's pretty flexible. Pure Steel Paladin is insane. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. An equipment you control have equipped 0 as long as you control 3 or more artifacts, which we will because we got mana rocks and equipment. So it's definitely going to happen. Just one of the best cards on our deck, and this triggers off all the token copies of our equipment as well, which is just really crazy. Rune of Flight, when it enters the battlefield, draw a card, and then as long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it has flying. You can also enchant your equipment, but that's not as good because that's not going to trigger the draw card as much. So just enchant a creature with it, give it flying, draw a card every turn. Sage's Reverie, when it enters the battlefield, draw a card for each aura you control that's attached to a creature. So you're always going to draw at least 1 card off this, but you're probably going to draw like 2 or 3 on the first one, and then you're just going to keep drawing more and more and more. And it gets +1/+1 for each aura you control that's attached to a creature. Wild card, it's going to be really good. Seagate Restoration, NDFC, draws 1,000,000 cards. Our mana is pretty good in this deck. If your mana is not as good, don't run it. Just run an island or something. Search for Azcanta. I just like this card a lot. It's just really good color, or it's just really good, like, selection. And it's got a land on the back, but I never really do it. But if you, like, we got a lot of recursion in this deck, so just putting equipment in your graveyard and then getting it back later is just pretty good. So it's just good selection. If you don't like it, run something else. Shram, you gotta have it. Thoughtcast, I think it's okay. It's 1 mana, draw 2. It's a pretty good rate with affinity for artifacts. So as long as you have 4 artifacts, it's 1 mana, draw 2. There's other cards you can run, maybe better cards you can run. It fits. Traveler's Cloak, 3 mana, enchant creature. When it enters battlefield, choose a land type. When it enters battlefield, draw a card. And then enchanted creature has land block of the chosen type. So once you get a couple of these, eventually your creature is going to be unblockable. But you only need 1 or 2 to really hit everyone at the table, because there's going to be some overlapping colors. We got our category of cheaters. This means they're cheating mana cost or something like that on our equipment, either into play or equip cost. So Arden, at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may attach any number of auras and equipment you control to target permanent or player. So you can move any combination of auras from any number of creatures and places and attach them to one creature. Armored Sky Hunter, flying. When it attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put an aura or equipment card from among them onto the battlefield. If an equipment is put onto the battlefield this way, you may attach it to a creature, then put the rest on the bottom. So we're going to get an aura or an enchantment unless we whiff super hard, which will happen sometimes. But still worth it, because it's just on attack, and, you know, it's a flying attacker. It's just kind of good. So it cheats mana, and it draws a card, and it cheats the equip costs. They're pretty good. Danitha, Benali's Hope, First Strike, Vigilance, Lifelink, got a bunch of words, and then when it enters the battlefield, you may put an aura or equipment card from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield attached to Danitha. So it's recursion, and it cheats mana costs, and it cheats equip costs. So pretty good. Next up, we got an Insane card, and this card's only $1, so buy it. When it enters the battlefield, return target equipment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. As long as it's your turn, you may activate equip abilities as though you may cast an instant, and you may pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost of the first equip ability you activate during each of your turns. This card is Forge anew. It's remaking Isildur's sword in Lord of the Rings. I forget what the sword's called. It has a name. Frodo, Determined Hero, 2 mana, 2/2. When it enters battlefield or attacks, you may attach target equipment you control with mana value 2 or 3 to Frodo. As long as it's your turn, prevent all damage that would be dealt to Frodo. Halvar, God of Battle. Creatures you control that are enchanted or equipped have double strike. Insane. Then at the beginning of each combat, you may attach aura or equipment attached to a creature you control to target creature you control. So you can do 1 aura and equipment. So it's not as good as Arden, but it gives everything double strike, which is crazy. Stoneforge Mystic, classic equipment card. When it enters the battlefield, search for an equipment and put it in your hand. And then you can pay 2 and tap it and put an equipment onto the battlefield. So you can cheat mana with this. You can put a 3 or more higher down for only 2 mana. With ramp, we got a bunch of mana rocks. You know the deal. We got Inspiring Statuary. This is pretty good. So we can tap our equipment to pay the improvised cost on non-artifact spells, which is like 2/3 of our deck. Codsworth. I just like him. He's cool. Commanders you control have Ward 2. Tap to add white, spin this only to cast or equipment spells, so it's a mana dork. And then tap and attach target or equipment you control to target creature you control. So it's ramp, it's protection, and it moves stuff around. So pretty cool card, and just look at him, he's kind of goofy. Danitha, again, same keywords, and then aura and equipment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So that's like 1/3 of our deck costs 1 less to cast, and then it's just like a good creature to soup up. Knight of the White Orchid to search for a plains or an Esper. We're not getting ahead with land, so we'll almost always trigger. And then it gets any plains, puts it on the battlefield, and then it's a creature with first strike that we can soup up and make stronger. This card's really, really awesome. Thousand Moon Smithy, 2 white. When it enters the battlefield, create a token named Gnome Soldier So an artifact creature token with this creature's power and toughness are equal to the number of artifacts and or creatures you control. So it's just going to get bigger and bigger. Like this thing's almost always a 5/5 at minimum, and it's going to get bigger. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you may tap 5 untap artifacts and or creatures you control. If you do, transform it, and we can tap our equipment for free, because it doesn't matter if you tap an equipment, it still is an equipment. And then it becomes Barracks of the Thousand. That taps for, it's a land that taps for white, and then whenever you use that mana for an artifact or a creature spell, you're going to make another one of those gnomes. So we're going to make a bunch of gnomes that are big and get bigger the more gnomes we have. So pretty nuts. Next up, we just got generic equipment. So we got Batterbone. It's a living weapon. There's a stronger card called Batter's Skull, but it's 5 mana. This is only 2 mana, and it does similar things. It gives Vigilance and Lifelink at +1/+1. Batter's Skull is +5/+5. So it's definitely better, but with the living weapon thing just kind of going wide eventually, I'd rather get this down early and just start making a bunch of dudes instead of making like 5 mana. For 5 mana, I want to be casting my commander or something. And with Esper, your mana's kind of hard. Like mana and Esper sucks. I don't know if you've ever played an Esper deck before, but your mana is really tricky. So low mana cost is the way to go. I'm doing Batterbone. You can do Batter Skull if you want. Hex Gold, Hover Wings for Mirrodin. Equipped creature has flying, so it's going to be a flying 2/2, but creatures you control that are equipped get +1/+1. So it's just kind of like a little bit of a buff that's going to get better and better and better the more token copies of Hex Gold Hover Wings we're going to make, which is pretty crazy. Calder Complete. This is kind of a nombo. When you make a token copy of Calder Complete, you're gonna have to sacrifice it because it's legendary, but it's so cool, we're gonna run it anyway. Kimba's Banner. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each creature you control. So as you're going wide with all your token copies of your living weapons and your 4 Mirrodins, you're just gonna get creature's gonna get big. Lightning Greaves, duh. Locks it on Warhammer, +3/+0 in trample and lifelink. Just a badass card. There's probably stronger equipments, but I love this thing, and it's only 40 cents. Nettle Cyst is all that glitters on a living weapon. Kind of insane. We're going to make a bunch of them. Plate Armor, 3 mana equipped creature, gets +3/+3, and has ward 1. And then it's got equip 3, but it costs 1 less to cast, or 1 less to activate for each other equipment you control. So we're going to get more of them. And then eventually, once you have like 3 of these things, you can just start passing them around for free. Insane. Scythe Claw. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. And then whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half their life rounded up. So equip this to something with flying, or give this flying with a rune or something. And then eventually you're going to just start smacking dudes. And when you're making token copies and you're moving stuff around for free, because we got free equippers, you can do like 32 life to 16 life to 8 life in one attack. It'd be insane. Because each of these abilities trigger separately. Swiftfoot Boots, you know what it does. Sword of Hearth and Home. I only have this one sword in here because it's only $10. All the swords are expensive. I don't think they're worth the money. Like, Sword and Feast of Famine is a busted magic card. Sword of Fire and Ice is a really good magic card. They're both $40. If you have them, play them for sure, or if you are down to buy a $40 magic card, totally do it. But for $40, you're going to buy a lot more. Like, you could buy this whole equipment package for $40. Or you can buy one Sword of Feast and Famine. So they're not in here. You should run them if you can afford them, or if you want to buy them. Or if you already have them, definitely run it. They're good. I don't want to buy them. So we're just running this one. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 protection from green and from white. So it's a little tricky because some of our white auras can like fall off our white equipment, but it ramps us and it flickers something, and we got some pretty good enter the battlefield effects, and ramp and Esper is hard, and there's a lot of green decks around, so it's pretty relevant protection, and also it protects from like really good white removal, so good protection. Little kind of a tricky card. Definitely try it and see how it works for you. Thran Power Suit is crazy. It gets +1/+1 for each aura and equipment attached to it, and has ward 2. It's going to get more and more rewards the more we have. We got a little bit of a recursion package. We got this Brotherhood Outcast. When it enters the battlefield, choose one. Return target aura or equipment card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it's like a Sun Titan, and then put a shield counter on target creature. So you pick one of those. Shield counters are cool. They prevent if the creature would be dealt damage or destroyed, remove a shield counter from it instead. So it protects you from board wipes and like lightning bolts and just any kind of weird damage that's thrown around. And we can make more of those shield counters with our dude, with our commander. So we get more and more shield counters, which is pretty cool. Mantle of the Ancients. When it enters the battlefield, return any number of target aura and or equipment cards that would be attached, that could be attached to enchanted creature from your graveyard, and attach it to enchanted creature. So big recursion spell. We're going to get a bunch of stuff back for 5 mana. And then it gets enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each equipment attached to it. So like the way I see this is everything gets destroyed from a board wipe. We have nothing left on the field. We just play one creature, and then we play like we play Esper Sentinel. We play this for 6 mana. Now our Esper Sentinel is like a 9/9. Let's go. One Last Job is kind of okay. It's a spree, so you can choose any number of these modes and just pay for them. 5 mana, return target creature from the graveyard to the battlefield. That's kind of above rate. Or it can be 4 mana, return target or equipment card from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to a creature you control. Or you can do 6 mana and do both modes, and that's pretty good. And I like the flexibility. If you don't like it, run something else. Savine's Wreck is a Sun Titan 1 time for 3 mana, but if you flash it back, you get 2. Pretty good. Unfinished Business. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, then return up to 2 target auras and or equipment cards from the graveyard to the battlefield attached to that creature. So it's like One Last Job, but a little bit better. And last up, we just got our removal package. Just kind of standard stuff. We got Boggart Trawler. It's Bojuka Bog on a creature. I think this card's cool. I think it's pretty situational. Like in this deck, like you always kind of, if you're in black, you want to run Bojuka Bog, but now your Bojuka Bog can hold a sword or an aura. So I think it's worth running it. If not, just run Bojuka Bog. Austere Command, just really good. An offer you can't refuse is cheap. I don't really care about countering other people's spells. I care about protecting my stuff. So it's 1 mana, protect my stuff from your dumb removal spell. And then I'm just going to draw a million cards and swing over you with flyers. So I don't really care what you're doing. Anguished Unmaking, exile target all-in permanent, you know what it does. Assimilation Aegis, this card is kind of cool. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile 1 target creature until it leaves the battlefield. So if we're making token copies of this, we're going to keep exiling stuff. And when it becomes attached to a creature, for as long as it remains attached to that creature, it becomes a copy of a creature card exiled with Assimilation Aegis. So get this on a Living Weapon Germ, get this on a like a Rebel token. We've got a ton of those, and you can just start making whatever cool stuff we're exiling from our opponents. Now we have one, and we're getting rid of them. Citizen's Crowbar is like a naturalize on a equipment, so it synergizes. It's slow, but it comes with the body, so it comes with the modified creature. So it's a little slow, but I think it's pretty good. Fumble's kind of interesting. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Gain control of all auras and equipment that were attached to it, and then attach them to another creature. So this is a good protection spell from any like single target remover on a creature. You can just move them around. Like someone is swordsing your big flyer, you'd be like, okay, well now it's over on this creature, and now it's also a flyer. And then I got my creature with an ETB back. Or it's a bounce spell if you need to bounce something. Lauren is a Rex Sage that draws cards and holds equipment with vigilance. Pretty good. And then last up is Witch Enchanter. It's in your mana base. This card's busted. Run this in like literally every single white deck. It's a Rex Sage that holds equipment, and it's a land if you don't need to blow something up. So that is the deck. Let me know what you think of this deck. I think it's a pretty cool one. I am going to try it on Moxfield in the playtester and see how it runs for a couple games. What would you do? Would you do it more in a counters kind of way, or would you do it like I did with the equipment and the auras? Let me know. But let's do a quick play test. Let's just try it out. Okay, so I got the Moxfield playtest set up. If you don't know, you can. This is actually a pretty good way you can like test decks and also play them. If you're playing on Spell Table with people, you can use OBS and like funnel this screen into Spell Table, and you can just play decks on Spell Table for free. Don't tell Wizards of the Coast I told you to do that, but you can. So yeah, so we got an okay hand. We got 3 lands and Mantle of the Ancients, and but we got Pure Steel Paladin and a tutor. So let's just see what happens. We'll try it out. So we'll draw our card for turn, and then we'll just do a tap land. Go to next turn. What we got? Okay, we got a shock land. Let's do Spire. Yeah, we'll shock in the Hollow Fountain and then play the Pure Steel. Let's go to next turn. Got some removal. It's alright. Okay, we got the Spire of Industry. Then let's do 3 for Sword Hearth and Home, which is going to draw us a card off Pure Steel Paladin. We drew lands. We're going to keep going. That's good. Turn 3, we're looking pretty good. We haven't ramped at all, but we've drawn cards. And we got plenty of lands in hand. We'll be good. Caves to Koilos as land for turn. Let's equip. How much is it to equip? 2 mana to equip. So we'll do 1, 2, and then we'll attack, get through, get a land into play. And the land does not enter tapped, which is kind of crazy. Now I got 3 mana to work with. Let's go get second main phase. Let's tutor for something. What would we tutor for? Let's grab Thran Power Suit so we can give our Pure Steel Paladin ward next turn. Okay, we got Cogsworth. Okay, so let's do this. We'll do 1, 2, 3 for Cogsworth, and then we'll do 2 for Thran Power Armor. Now we have Metalcraft, so we can equip this for free, and then we'll draw a card off that entering, and then we'll swing, make more, get more lands into play. We got 2 mana left. Let's play Swiftfoot Boots and put that on Codsworth. Wow. Pretty good turn. Now let's go to turn 6. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana on turn 6. 8 mana on turn 6. Then we're gonna play our commander for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now we're going to attack for a bunch, because now we're gonna get more lands into play with the Sword of Hearth and Home, and then we're gonna draw 2 cards as these token copies enter. Yeah, so we're on turn 6, so we played our commander on the right turn, and we already got an engine online. We got protection. We got removal in hand. This deck seems pretty good. So it's definitely one of those like slower, grindy decks. You're not playing CDH with this guy, but if you're doing some good old-fashioned battlecruiser magic, like mid-range game nights kind of magic, it'll be pretty good. So let me know what you think. Do you think this deck looks fun? Do you think it looks dumb? Let me know. I want to know.